We come in our time of darkness in a world gone mad. Blame is assigned to the oppressed as if they caused their plight. Truth has died and dishonesty reigns. Evil has its day and its way, yet the voice of our shepherd remains. Take heart, I have overcome the world.
Rejoice.
We come with fears and anger that roil in our guts, confused, exhausted, looking for a touch, a sign, a victory. Renew the ancient song for us. Stretch our hearts and interrupt our worry. Give us ears to hear the angel's song and eyes to see the glory.
Rejoice.
We panic for our little ones whose play is narrowed and whose friends stay far away. We carry a heavy load of distress as dark powers loom over us and vie for our submission. Yet in the stillness, the whispers and the rumblings of the sky opening up beckon us. Good news of great joy.
Rejoice.
We turn our attention not to the world of long laboring and ambition, bread that does not satisfy, but away now to the silence and the deep darkness and 4 small candles. The light is growing. We dare to hope together in a new order of creation where the last are first and faithful children lead us. The Good Shepherd sings to us, I will carry you.
Rejoice.
The glory of the Lord will appear, the shining greatness of our God. Everyone will see it together. Great joy for all people. Dare to hope through this night. Hold on to love through all despair. Here is our comfort. A Savior has been born to you.
Rejoice.
Welcome to Circle of Hope online meeting. My name is Tess Patiño. If you haven't already, I would encourage you to please go sign in at circleofhope.net/online meeting. This is our 4th and last week of Advent before Christmas. We're almost there. I invite you to join in with us, and please go get a candle. We encourage everyone that is with you to have a candle, even children, but if you'd like to hold a candle together and participate together, that's fine too. We need more hope in this darkness, so please go take some time right now to get a candle. Does everyone have their candle? Great. So you can go ahead and light it if you haven't already. And for Advent, we decided we need a theme song, so we wrote one. This one is based on Philippians 4:4-7.
The Lord darkness is heavy, draw us near. Chaos surrounds us, draw us near. Our courage is shaken, draw us near. Hope in the darkness, you are near. Peace in the chaos, you are near. Beyond understanding, you are near.
I'm Kaz, and I'm going to tell you a story about the significance of my birth for my dad. And as you listen, I want to invite you to see what questions come up for you. So I'm the youngest daughter for Brian and Barbara Todd, and both of whom were married before they married each other and had children in those previous relationships. My dad died when I was 5, but my mum has told me of the significance of my birth for my dad. He had 6 children, 4 from his previous marriage. He adopted my mum's son, and then my mum and dad had my sister just 18 months before I was born. My dad didn't get to see any of his other children be born. So my dad was significantly older than my mum, and when his first 4 children were born, was in the 40s, and it wasn't the practice to have men in the room when their wives delivered. And then when my sister was born, they lived across the street from the hospital, and my dad walked my mum over and then left her to drop my brother at the babysitter, and by the time he got back to the hospital, my sister was already born. And so on the day of my birth, when it was apparent that I was coming, and I was coming very quickly, they shoved everyone into the car, and on the way, my mum said, I think you need to drop me at the hospital first before you take the other kids to the babysitter. And my dad said, no way, I'm not missing this birth, you're just going to have to hold on. And so by the time they got to the hospital, my mum said she felt like she was about to just give birth in the lobby area. But they made it to the room, and it was all happening very quickly, and I was born, and my mum said that my dad, who was a farmer, just like watched me be born and said, oh, yeah, it's kind of like a lamb being born. My mum begged to differ, that it was not quite like a lamb being born, but I think it just feels, I have this picture of my dad I only have a few, and I have this picture of my dad and the way that he's looking at me on the day that I was born, and I can see this just look in his eyes of love and affection and happiness and satisfaction in some way, and I think that comes out of loss that he had known and this chance to sort of have some of that redeemed as he watched this last child of his be born. And I didn't get to know him really well, but I feel the significance in the story that of my birth and the way that he was able to be present to it differently than he had in the past.
What questions are you still sitting with after that story? What's unfinished for you? Maybe you still have questions from one of the previous weeks that we've had in Advent. Our questions lead us to the answer that we don't have the answer to all of our questions. And hope is really hard to have, but Christmas is near and Jesus is our hope. Whether you've been joining us for all of Advent or this is your first time, I encourage you to take this candle and put that question into it. Come back to the candle later this week and maybe you light it and remember your uncertainty, your questions, your hope, and hold all of those together. So right now, with us, I encourage you to put that question, that uncertainty, into this candle.
Star so radiant and holy, shine on me in my great hour of need. Jesus Christ, so beautiful and lovely, shine over me. Star so radiant and holy, shine on me in my great hour of need. Jesus Christ, so beautiful and lovely, shine over me. Sing Morning Star. Morning star so radiant and holy, shine on me in my great hour of need. Jesus Christ, so beautiful and lovely, shine over me. Let's try humming that together.
shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it.
Morning star so radiant and holy, shine on me in my great hour of need. Jesus Christ, so beautiful and lovely, shine over me. Sing morning star. Morning star so radiant and holy, shine on me in my great hour of need. Jesus Christ, so beautiful and lovely, shine over me.
This song is a prayer to Jesus.
May your light be seen through the darkness unknowing. May your light be seen in the smallest sleeping growing. May your light be seen in the lives together sharing. May your light be seen in the hope amidst despairing. May
May we find your light, Lord. When my first daughter was born, she had to spend some extra time in the hospital before we could bring her home. My wife and I commuted back and forth to the suburban hospital she was in, and we did so daily. It's a surreal feeling to leave your newborn child someplace other than your house. But honestly, for new parents who didn't know any better, it was all a new feeling. 8 days after she was born, she finally achieved the milestones in terms of her weight gain, and she could come home. I remember getting that call. The nurse said, "How would you like to take your daughter home tonight?" It was an amazing feeling. We didn't expect the call that day, but we did expect it to come. We were in our own despair and our own uneasiness, and then we got the call. Our desires fulfilled. She was coming home. Have you ever received an unexpected announcement that offered you hope in the midst of despair? That's exactly what the shepherds who watched the flock by night, that's exactly what they experienced as the heavenly host announced the birth of Jesus to them. Let's read the passage from Luke 2. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign to you. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger." Suddenly a great company of heavenly hosts appeared with an angel, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace to those on whom his favor rests." When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about." The shepherds who were watching the flock at night were discarded members of society. They weren't even watching their own sheep. They didn't have property of their own. They were watching someone else's flock, making sure that the bandits didn't steal them or the predators eat them. It wasn't a desirable position largely. It didn't have a lot of rights in the society. The shepherds were an impoverished people, just trying to get by under the guise of the empire. But they were reassured of good news. The birth of Jesus is good news for people who are used to getting bad news. The birth of Jesus is good news for people who are used to getting bad news. And my, oh my, have I gotten a lot of bad news this year, as I'm sure you have. But the promise of the birth of Jesus means that we can enter into all the bad news because God will be faithful. And God will return. The call we're waiting for will happen. But as they watched over someone else's sheep, and they cared for these little sheep, despite their oppression, they received God's honor. Socioeconomically, the shepherds are oppressed and impoverished. But in God's upside-down kingdom, where the last are first and the first last, the shepherds are honored. And they are especially honored in the story of Israel. They are tethered to a story that honors them. The term shepherd is even used to describe God in the Bible. Many biblical figures are also shepherds, including the patriarchs, Jacob and Abraham. The great prophet Moses was a shepherd. The king after God's own heart, David, was a shepherd. The prophet Amos was a shepherd. And of course, Jesus is described as a shepherd too. The shepherds here, discarded by society, have a place of honor with God. They embody a lament. They hold it within them. But they also know that God is faithful and God will honor them. And so they hold on to hope too. This is how we hope. This announcement from the angels is the one they've been waiting for, the one they knew was coming. God honors them by making them the first to hear this world-changing announcement. They know, because the prophets of the Old Testament foresaw it, that a remnant of hope was going to come, and it had finally arrived. They got the call. The shepherds of this story represent the oppressed people of Israel. This nation formed by God through liberation from oppression. The Israelites received much of their identity through their liberation from Egypt. And they tell that story, that Passover story, that Exodus story, which reassures them of the hope that is coming. It reassures them of God's faithfulness. They are tethered to a story, to a people, to a promise. And we are grafted right onto that promise too. The promise is being delivered to them on this evening by the heavenly hosts, by the angels that they are hearing on high, by the ones who are singing, "Hark!" The angels reassure the shepherds by telling them not to fear, telling them good news is coming. To them and to all the people, you don't need to fear, because what you fear is about to be defeated by this birth of a Savior. And you're about to meet him, that Savior who will bring peace to earth and goodwill to all on whom God's favor rests, has arrived. Go and visit him. Go and meet your liberator. Go and meet your Redeemer, one who has knelt to meet you exactly where you are. One who will name himself a shepherd like you, meeting you right in your poverty, in your lament, and offering you a way forward. The shepherds show us that Jesus will meet us in our own despair, in our own darkness, even as the society discards us, even as the society discards me. They show us that Jesus will clothe himself in our lamentation and in our oppression and stand in solidarity with us, while also showing us a new way forward. We can get out. This is how we hope. We can get out of our lamentation, out of our oppression, and into something new. That's the promise that's awaiting us. Something else is possible. We can do that together. The shepherds show us that we don't have to shy away from our condition, our struggle, our difficulty, and that God will be faithful to us. Their faith inspires me then to feel all the dread and pain that I feel, while also holding on to the hope that's promised to me. That's how I can hope in the midst of my despair. Advent is a time then to become acquainted with all that's wrong with the world, all that's wrong with us, and even all that's wrong with me, because I know Jesus will return once again and liberate us. We are all living in the same promise. We are assured of this promise because God has unfailing love. God is faithful. We remember the Israelites being liberated, and we remember Jesus defeating death on the cross. Today, you can remember that as you await in your own Advent Christ to return again. So now we can enter into our own lamentation as we've been doing all of Advent. And we can do so because God will be faithful. Our current condition cannot deter us, and because of that, we are free to enter into it fully. We are blessed by having a history of people who show us that they can hope too through their own despair. A history, a faith tradition of people hoping despite being discarded by society and are brought to glory by Jesus, just like the shepherds were. Just this week, we saw it again. It was Washington, D.C. People were protesting the results of the presidential election, and some of these people vandalized black churches, and they stole and burnt their Black Lives Matter signs. These black Christian leaders demonstrated the courage of the shepherds in their response. They did not fear. They heeded the advice of the angels. And they inspire me to do the same thing. One of the pastors of the churches said in a statement, "Last night, demonstrators who were part of the election protest tore down our Black Lives Matter signs and literally burned it in the street. It pained me especially to see our name, Asbury, in flames. For me, it was reminiscent of the cross burnings. But we are a resilient people who have trusted God through slavery and the Underground Railroad and Jim Crow and the Civil Rights Movement, and now we face an apparent rise in white supremacy. Another pastor responded, "We have not been distracted by the signs and the sounds or fury for nearly 2 centuries. We worship, we liberate, we serve. These leaders are like the shepherds here, waiting for their liberator. They embody their lament and they experience all that's horribly wrong with the world right within them. But they don't despair because they believe in the faithfulness of God, and that inspires me to hold on to my hope. That's how I hope. They can hold on to their lament because they know God will be faithful, and we too can hold on to our lament as we once again await God's faithfulness. Advent is about waiting for Jesus to be born and waiting for Christ to return. We are preparing now the way for the Lord to return once again. So let us tend to this flock of Circle of Hope now, just like the shepherds did as we wait together. This is how we hope.
Hey, brother, you're muted, I believe.
Man, I was muted that whole time. Y'all let me hang out there to dry that long? Come on.
I thought it was I always think it's my problem first. Then I got to check all my technology, and I'm like, nah, I think I'm about to enter. I'm going to say something.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, y'all. I was muted. I got to get talkback started. Thank you, Jonny, for bringing that message. This is how we hope, and we can hope because the Lord is near. The Lord is coming back. We have these current day people that are giving us the courage to wait. I really liked, though, I want to go back a little bit from how you ended there, Jonny, and get to what Jordan asked. What sort of patience does it take to wait for a word that comes in unexpected form at an unexpected time? Like, how do we get ready to wait? How can we be expected for something that is unexpected? Because Jesus' return will probably come in ways that are just as shocking as when he showed up to the shepherds. What do you think of that, y'all? What does it take to wait in for something that's so unexpected when we can't be so sure of how it's going to look?
I think that kind of patience requires hope. We have to keep working out how we hope because we don't know the ways that God will show up and keep showing up, the ways that God will liberate us and keep liberating us. Jesus is that way, but we need to live into that truth all the time. And I'm grateful for a community of people to work out that hope with because I don't have enough on my own.
Yes. Can I add something here, Ben? I think it also involves embracing our longing for that which can't be filled by what's here now. And we're practicing that this season with lament, but I think we're always working on this kind of honesty together. Like Jonny said it so poignantly in the message, kind of like that we can feel what we feel right now because we have hope that God will save us. So we can go through our suffering now and not try to avoid it or dull it, but embrace it because it shows us that we're made for more and something else is coming.
I think that being connected to a story helps too. Being connected to a people, that helps. When you remember God's faithfulness in the past, you can anticipate it in the future, even if you don't know exactly how it will express itself. That's why Advent helps us wait for Christ's return, because we know Jesus came and there's a birth happening. That faith helps us to wait for the coming, that promise.
And the people that were waiting, the shepherds that were waiting, or that Mary that was waiting, or the prophets that were waiting, or John the Baptist that was waiting, they're all connected to that tradition as well. And so that's why you bring up this story of Exodus and liberation and how it gets them ready by remembering. I'm thinking also about at our lamentations of right now, these meetings that we've been calling people together on Zoom to lament. We lead people to write a psalm of lament in this kind of rubric that the Psalms take, because there are bunches of laments in the book of Psalms. And one of them is to remember God's faithfulness. You start with the problem, but then you remember God's faithfulness and you project towards the future of how we are going to do that. So I hear you saying, just to summarize the answer to Jordan's question, basically it's doing Advent. It's connecting yourself to God's faithfulness from the past, and also holding the pain of right now together, holding the reality of right now together. Did I summarize it? Like, let's do life together and pay attention, and let's remember what God has done. That basically answers the question. Let me get another one in here. So people are feeling like the wait is really long right now in COVID-19. I love this image that Andrea brought up of the angels showing up in the COVID-19 ward and bringing good news there. That might be a place where that kind of good news is needed. And other people were saying, I'm despairing in the 9 months of quarantine, and I'm getting even if I get a vaccine, it's not over yet, because I can still help. We can't we're not getting out of this right away. So holding on to the good news that we actually get now. Would you all tell me just some good news? Tell me one good news. Jonny got us going on the good news of the resistance and the courage of those Black leaders that were calling out the evil. I think even though it's the evil, the good news of their courage, Jonny was focusing in on the good news of those men and women that responded. Can we get a little more? I'm putting you on the spot here.
In my cell gathering this week over Zoom, we read the Circle of Hope daily prayer entry together, and lit our Advent candle together. And the entry was about Elizabeth and Mary, and how Elizabeth called out what God was doing in Mary, and it bolstered Mary's joy and her courage. And so we did that for one another. We called out what we could see God doing in each other. And it was so meaningful and filled me with joy, because it's really significant to have people that know you and love you and are listening to God on your behalf, and able to call out that good.
That is good news. Rachel, give us one more.
I can't decide between two things that happened on Friday night. The Solidarity.
All right, do two.
All right. The Solidarity Beyond Borders team raised over $18,000 for a family that has been in sanctuary, who is on their way into freedom again. And during that call, I was recording for Christmas Eve with Andrew and Preston. And I'll let them speak for themselves, but we were worried that singing "Oh Holy Night," just the three of us, like wouldn't feel like the same, as singing with 200 people in the room at 1125 South Broad. But we got done that song and we were like kind of speechless, like almost weeping. Like, it felt so good to worship together. And it just, I was just belting out the songs with the team here in my office by myself, for the same reason that we need to worship.
Yeah. Robert Hornack is good news.
Yes.
Your light in all. Like, when he started to kind of go off the melody a little bit, harmonize a little bit there, I was like, yes, Lord. Yes, this is good news. Worship. It can be a bolster. The good news of the angels came in a choir, and people are imagining on the chat all the different places where the choir is going to show up, and hoping for the choir to show up, in all these places. Just to give a little bit of context, a little bit more context to what you shared, Rachel, I'll just add real quick. Sanctuary is like they would be deported if they were like kind of out in the world, but they've been staying in a church. Like 24/7, they can't leave, or they might get picked up by the authorities. So they've been working out their case, and they might, there's a path forward for them to stay in the United States with the family that they have, brought and grown here. So that's really awesome. And then also, we're going to talk about this later, but belting out "Oh Holy Night," we made the recordings. We're going to do that together at 11:15 p.m. on Christmas Eve. And we used to do that in a big room with his, 150 people together, just, blasting it. And we'll have to blast it from our living rooms and wake up our neighbors, probably, right? That's all the talkback we have time for, but we want to tell you about a few things, and then we're going to have a blessing. So stick around. Let's do some vision for our 24/7 life together, Rachel.
Yes, we are here on YouTube, also on Facebook and on Instagram. And I hope that you like and share and subscribe to our channels there, because these are ways, especially right now, that we can connect with one another and meet new friends. So please share it if you can. And also share in our common fund. We put our money together in a common fund so that we can do more together than we can do ourselves, kind of like I was describing with the Solidarity Beyond Borders team. But our common fund allows us to do so much to meet needs here locally and all around the world, and to keep having a common mission together. So if you want to be part of that, know that you're being part of something bigger than yourselves, bigger than even ourselves. And you can do that at circleofhope.net/sharing. Julie, what else?
On Tuesday night, we are meeting on Zoom for the fourth Lamentations of Right Now that we've been hosting throughout this Advent season. This week, we are lamenting the sin of racism. So please join us. We can cry out and name the wrong that is, because we have hope that Jesus is redeeming us and calling us into be the new creation and the new humanity. So join us to lament together on Tuesday night. The link is in the chat and on our website, circleofhope.net/Advent. Also this week, it's Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve at 3:00, like Becca was talking about before the start of this meeting at Kids Time, we are gathering for Christmas Eve for families, and you are a part of that family if you want to be. So if you want to be a part of that joy, the kids are going to be dressing up and telling the story, sharing cookies, singing together. Come and join us at 3. And we're gathering at 11:15 p.m. that night, because we want to spend that hour into the first moments of Christmas Eve together, reviewing our journey through Advent with candles and song, and telling the story of how God has brought hope through our lament. So join us for Christmas Eve.
I'm so looking forward to that. We are coming to the end of the meeting here, but just want to give you a couple ways to keep connecting. Please sign in at circleofhope.net/online meeting, as we keep asking you to do. We just want to have a sense of the body, who's here, who's not. I know it might be a hassle to click over to that or to remember to do it, so just do it right now, circleofhope.net/online meeting. And especially if you're new to our community, we'd love to help include you by sending you a little email or a text. My cell meets on Tuesday night, and it is a highlight of the week. We're including new people during the pandemic, getting to know each other on Zoom. It's, that's more good news, that cells are happening. What would we be in Circle of Hope without our cells? These groups of around 10 people that share their lives together, keep talking together all the time, keep loving each other and supporting each other through this difficult time. They're beautiful. And if you're not connected to one right now, please connect at circleofhope.net/cells. Or when you sign in at circleofhope.net/online meeting, you can just click have a cell leader contact me, and they'll send you an email and say, hey, you want to connect? I'll help you. Lastly, we want to connect face to face. My face is just projecting right now, but we can have a back and forth faceness on Zoom right now after the meeting, just an informal hangout time that I'll be hosting. Anyone is welcome to just pop on, say hi. You don't have to stay for the whole around half an hour time, or you can stay for the whole time and be sad when it's over. That's fine too, but I'll call it after about a half an hour. Again, it's really good that you've been here with us. It's been a good thing. Jesus is bringing good news for those who are used to getting bad news, and we're together in that, like the shepherds were. So let's be together and sing one more time. The Lord is near, and then Tessa will bless us out.
The Lord is near. The Lord is near. The Lord is near.
May this candle be a representation of Jesus' nearness to you in this Advent. Light it during this week when you need him and whenever you pray. Hold the light with your questions, your grief, and your hope, all in the same hands. The Lord is near. See you next time.
the pains of labor to become
healed and whole inside. Wait for you. I am longing to be set free and to share in glory, death, and decay. Every present suffering will pass away. Like a